All right, good evening. This is Jerry again with from carrypad.com with a second attempt at the video for tonight. The first time I attempted this shoot, there were some issues with where I was placing the tablet and some of the examples that I was trying to show everyone. So I am back to try and shoot it again. So again, this is a video shoot of the Lenovo ThinkPad tablet. The main objective tonight is to try and demo some of the inking applications. And we're going to move a lot faster, one, because my camera's low on battery power, two, because like I said, this is the second time I've shot the video tonight. So the first thing I was going to go over, I went over in the longer video, wanted to show an example of a couple of the apps that don't work so well. This is Notes Everything, which is a good performing app for digital inking itself. You know, the ink keeps up very well. But the problem I've had with this is when you go from portrait to landscape, I've had some problems in-app. As you can see here, I just went to landscape, and some of the notes cut off, and you can't move the paint note around at all. So this is an app that I now don't use for digital inking. Then the main problem is, you know, when you get out of the application and then try and go back to it, not always within a single seating, but frequently if you shut the tablet down and then go back to it later. I've had some problems where I come in and the note is actually cut off. It's justified, you know, halfway through the note all the way over to the left, and from here over in the note, everything is cut off. So that app doesn't work very stably for recalling data when doing digital ink, so I tend to not use it. Another one that I've had some problems with is Extensive Notes Pro, where, you know, I think this will be a good example. In your notepad, in your notebook contents screen, you know, I took a digital ink note, and that icon comes up as a black icon with some impressions of ink in it. It shouldn't look like that. It should look, you know, essentially just like a thumbnail of the actual ink note. So when I go in, you can see how the ink has been compressed from what I originally wrote. The app performs well enough. Ink keeps up okay. I go over this a little bit in the longer video. You can see palm rejection works well. These applications don't have palm rejection themselves, but and I'm not absolutely certain if it's a capability that's built into the ThinkPad software layer. But whatever's doing it in any ink application that I work in, whether that ink app has palm rejection or not, I'm able to write and put my palm on the screen without picking up. In a few apps, you will get some kind of you know, dots of ink around the screen, but I typically just write over those once I get to that part of the screen, so it's really not that big a deal. There is one app that we're actually about to cover, Anti-Paper Notes HD, and in that one you actually get, you know, in the split second that that the pen lifts from the virtual paper and goes back down, you know, when going from word to word, that will create an arc line across the screen. But anyway, just to get back to this, again, Extensive Notes, I've had, you know, a lot of problems not inking in the app, but when I try and get back to an ink note. So as I wrote in the article, if you're going to do digital ink on the ThinkPad tablet, or really if you're using any Android tablet for business use, you really have to learn your apps and learn which ones are stable and determine which ones you are going to actually entrust recording your data to. So with that, we can go ahead and get on to the ink apps. The first one is Anti-Paper Notes HD. This app allows you to sort your applications into notebooks. And then create pages within those notebooks. You have different choices of paper. So we'll go to grid on this one. You can see you get a line of paper, a line of graph paper. The ink in this one keeps up very well also. The ThinkPad stylus is supposed to have some capabilities that anybody who's used a Windows tablet PC would be familiar with. Pressure sensitivity and changes in the thickness of an ink line based on when you press down harder. There are a lot of ThinkPad styluses out there that have issues. I think mine is one of them. It works perfectly well as a stylus, but as far as any of the enhanced capabilities, as far as anything that should occur when you hit the click button on the stylus itself, none of that on mine works. I'm not even certain what that list of capabilities and features are. I'm sure I would enjoy it if I had it, but right now it's nothing that keeps this tablet from being an extremely useful device for me. But be aware that if you do wind up getting one of these, that the ThinkPad stylus is supposed to do a few more things than just write. So ink in Anti-Paper Notes HD keeps up very well, as I mentioned. You have the capability to write in black ink. You can also choose a red ink pen. As I mentioned, you can see right here one of the artifacts that's created from imperfect palm rejection. Again, it doesn't cause an issue. It doesn't cause enough of an issue for the apps, for any of the ink apps to be unusable. But just be aware that the palm rejection is not perfect. Right. So that's Anti-Paper Notes HD. Now, I go over it in more depth in a longer video. You can check that one out if you want to fast forward through the areas where I did not have the ThinkPad tablet effectively centered on the screen. This is, I always get the name of this app messed up. So this is Notes Mobile. It's made by a company, I believe, called Vision Objects, who only makes the app available to OEMs. So you can't get this in the App Store, but Lenovo provides it pre-installed on a tablet. So this also allows you to divide your notes up into notebooks. You can create a new notebook. I think one of the major problems with the media is that most of the reviewers who reviewed this app focused on the handwriting to text conversion and handwriting recognition. I'm in that camp who doesn't care about handwriting recognition, so I always just freehand draw, and this app does have that capability, and I think a lot of people who reviewed this unit very early missed it. But the default mode is conversion to text, but you can go into the handwriting, into the freehand mode. Once you're in that mode, you can just write the title of your notebook here. Okay. And I think, as you saw me do a couple seconds ago, you can select the color of your notebook cover. Then you go into your pages. I don't think this has the ability to choose different paper styles, but it does have palm rejection in the app, although, like I said, with the ThinkPad tablet, I don't think you should really need it. And within the app, you can write freehand, which is how I always use it. Or you can go to the handwriting recognition, which should convert it to text once you stop writing for a second. Right, and like I said, I don't use handwriting to text conversion a lot, but I wrote handwriting conversion, and my penmanship is awful, and it converted that correctly. But I can't speak to how it works, how well it works when you're, doing a lot of handwriting recognition. I know when I initially started using the app, I had it in the handwriting conversion mode. It did not work very well for my handwriting, which again is poor. So once I figured out how I could go over to freehand, I just started writing in freehand. Again, a good app for taking topically organized notes. And I have a couple notebooks for meeting notes, a couple notebooks for projects, and notebooks for personnel stuff. Okay, so Repligo Reader. This is a PDF annotation app. I mainly use it when I want to export a PDF and have it with me for notes in a meeting, and then be able to mark those notes up. So I haven't used this a lot because I just kind of figured this capability out and just discovered this app. But it can do a lot of notes and annotation to PDFs. I was specifically interested in it for the freehand. Now, whenever you write it, it pops up this menu here, so it doesn't work very effectively if I'm going to write in a landscape. You really need to be writing right to left. There is a little bit of lag in tracking of the stylus in this app, more so than the other ink apps. But you can use this app to put stickies in, which are text only with keyboard entry. So you don't necessarily have to use this only for doing markups, but it works really well so far from what I've seen. Again, with minus the issue that it doesn't track quite as quickly as some of the other ink apps do. All right, and then once you mark it up, you can save it, and then that version of that PDF document. This is one that's stored on my external SD card. Has all your notes whenever you want to go back to it. Okay, so now we're going on to Tab Notes, which is one of my favorite ink apps. Most of the ink apps, or some of the ink apps, have a tendency to only allow themselves to be used in portrait orientation. This is one that does both portrait and landscape. Let's see how this works, if I can keep this on screen so you guys can see it. But now we're in portrait view, and now we're in landscape. And once you're in landscape view, you can use two fingers to scroll up and down. You can pinch to zoom. It is a little sluggish when changing orientation and also opening and closing notebooks, but my feeling is the app is so useful that I'm willing to put up with that. Ink tracks very well. Okay. You have about 9 different ink colors that you can choose from. I think like 15 different types of paper. If you, the one thing I don't like about it is to go back and forth between pages. You don't just swipe, or there's no page turn. You actually have to go back out to the notebook view and select the page and go back into it. And I think it also has like 9 different notebook covers that you can use. Alright, so again, that is Tab Notes, and I tend to use this application very extensively. Whiteboard Pro. What Whiteboard Pro allows you to do is create whiteboard spaces on your home screens, and then you can drop widgets onto your home screen and then open those as notes. Okay, so you can choose to orient it in landscape or portrait. Once you choose that in the configuration menu, which is here, you're pretty much locked into that orientation. Not forever, but you can't change it on the fly. So once I have this in landscape view, it will not rotate to portrait without me going into the configuration menu and changing it again. So what I like about this app is that whatever notes you take, obviously then are surfaced right on your home screen as a widget, so you don't actually have to go into the app. So I like using this app to take notes that I need to recall immediately, and often for notes that aren't going to persist for that long, kind of emergent things that come up that I'll wind up taking care of that day, and then I can just trash that whiteboard. But a very useful app. Performs pretty well. In terms of stability, this is one that is not as stable as some of the other ink apps. And I do, you will write in ink and then come back to the home screen, and you will sometimes see your new ink not rendered for a few seconds. Or you may come back and then need to swipe to a home screen and swipe back, and then you'll see your ink notes rendered. So, again, it gets a little scary if you're jotting down information that you absolutely need to recall at some point later. Okay, so the last one in the short version of the video is WritePad. This one is organized into little notepads on a corkboard. You can title the. I'm not sure again if I'll be able to get this centered so you guys can see it, but. You can title the notepads with different topics. This is another one that will reorient from portrait to landscape. So this is another one that I am a fan of. No pinch to zoom on this, but when you are in landscape view, you can use this scroll cue over here to scroll the page up and down. And then in portrait view, you're just looking at the whole page. So, alright, so I'll reorient this one to portrait. And hopefully this is a demo that you guys can see. Alright, so as you can see again, ink keeps up pretty well. You have about 3 different ink colors, blue, red, and black. A few different paper types, white, legal, composition, and engineer, which is just graph paper. One thing I should mention is, each of these applications typically has some capability to export notes. Most of them will just export it as a JPEG, but a lot of them have hooks into other applications that lots of us use very frequently. So here on Anti-Paper HD, you can send it to a Bluetooth recipient, send it out to Google Docs, Dropbox, send it via email where it will attach as a JPEG, send it to Evernote, Gmail, Note Everything, Picasa, PrinterShare for Lenovo so you can print the object, SpringPad, and Twitter. Alright, so that's the brief version tonight, guys. If you really want to see some more in-depth demos, check out the longer video. Again, I do apologize. In that version, there are just some sections of the video where I wasn't certain where the camera lens center was, so the ThinkPad at some points is cut off at the top. And a lot of times I'm talking about things that are going on off screen that you can't see in that video. But you can check it out on YouTube and kind of fast forward through those sections to get the meat of it. All right. If you guys have any questions, please post them on the article page or in the forums, and we will get back to you. Particularly if there are other demos that you want to see or something more in-depth you want me to go into. Despite the other video being about 30 minutes long, I kind of feel like I didn't do full justice as to representing how much of a useful device this is to me. I don't use paper at work, and this device allows me to maintain that, and allows me to work pretty efficiently, and I would argue more efficiently than I normally do. So that's it for tonight. Thanks a lot for joining in, and hopefully you guys will keep coming back to CareMet.com. Thanks a lot.